Hello and a warm welcome from DD India. I'm Amit Mukherjee and you're watching Connecting the Dots, the program that gets into a deep dive, identifies and connects the dots to get you the big picture of a raging global issue. In this edition, we take a look at the raging conflict between Israel and Hamas, how the situation is changing every second with the actions and reactions of the warring factions. As Israel's Air Force continues to pound Gaza, clearing the grounds for its defense forces to penetrate deeper into the Palestinian territories, we take a look at some of the most pertinent questions. Question number one, what is Israel's primary objective behind such an invasion? What is it that Israel is trying to achieve by initiating a ground invasion of the Gaza Strip? Question number two, what are the challenges Israel faces in the wake of this invasion? What are the hurdles and obstructions they are facing in their mission? Question number three, what happened to the peace agreements that were initiated in the region in the last 3 years? The agreements that Israel has been signing with the Arab nations for normalization. Now, in the past, Israel has been reluctant to send its troops into Gaza. A 2014 military memo leaked to the press said such an operation would at least take 5 years. It noted this would result in a catastrophic human toll. It also noted this would jeopardize the peace agreements with Egypt and other Arab countries in the region. The agreements which are better known as the Abraham Accords. But in 2023, the context has changed. Now on October 7th, Israeli citizens in the border areas were attacked by the Hamas militants. The militants invaded using bikes and cars. Some even flew over the fortified Israeli border in paragliders. And what followed next were mass killings. There are reports and verified videos of gruesome murders, rapes, kidnappings. Israeli citizens, including kids, were literally butchered by the Hamas militants. Kids, women, and security personnel were taken hostage and whisked away to Gaza. Now, this prompted Jerusalem to retaliate. And it responded with all its might, launching intense airstrikes on Gaza. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu declared that his country is at war. He vowed to destroy every stronghold of Hamas in Gaza and turn them into dust. He said every Hamas member is a dead man. So Israel's prime objective now is total control of Gaza, dismantle the Hamas terror bases, and secure the release of its hostages. However, the international communities, including the UN, has been calling for a ceasefire, asking Israel to stall its operations amidst the rising human toll and urgent need for aids into Gaza.
Immediately before departing for Beijing, I made two urgent humanitarian appeals to Hamas for the immediate and unconditional release of the hostages, to Israel to immediately allow unrestricted access of humanitarian aid to respond to the most basic needs of the people of Gaza, the overwhelming majority of whom are women and children. I call for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire to provide sufficient time and space to help realize my two appeals and to ease the epic human suffering we are witnessing.
But Israel now refuses to step back or even take a pause. For Netanyahu, stalling the assaults would tantamount to surrendering to Hamas.
Our common assessment of all of the, not only the cabinet members, but also all the security forces and the military, is that the ground action actually creates the possibility, not the certainty, but the possibility of getting our hostages out. Because Hamas will not do it unless they're under pressure. Calls for a ceasefire are calls for Israel to surrender to Hamas, to surrender to terrorism. to surrender to barbarism. That will not happen.
So in Gaza, the aerial assaults continue and the Israeli ground forces continue to move in deeper. The airstrikes have flattened major portions of the city blocks, which has packed population of about 2.3 million along its 41-kilometer stretch. Unknown number of bodies lie buried under the debris. As per estimates, thousands have already lost their lives and around 400,000 people have fled their homes in Gaza. Most have taken shelters in UN schools. At night, a large portion of Gaza plunges into darkness as the region's only power station has run out of fuel. Even the city's biggest hospital stays at a crisis. With limited fuel, it can probably ensure power for just a couple of days. Hospitals are also running out of surgical equipment, antibiotics, and other medical supplies. But as Israel continues to surround and pound Gaza, penetrating deeper into the Palestinian territories, there are challenges ahead. Military operation inside Gaza is a complex move. Invading the Strip involves house-to-house fighting. It carries high risk of casualty among civilians with a high population in the 41-kilometer-long stretch. One reason Israel has been demanding evacuation of 1.1 million Palestinians from the northern half of the Gaza Strip before it initiated the invasion. Also, the biggest challenge is to invade the subterranean tunnel network that exists under Gaza City. Over the years, Hamas has built these tunnels to serve as attack hubs, smuggling and storing rockets and ammunition, and at the moment, they are being used to hide hostages. Over 200 hostages who were abducted from Israel on October 7th. Being described like a spider web, the tunnel networks stretch hundreds of kilometers under Gaza, and some of them run at a depth of 80 feet under the earth. Now, with the world becoming a unified community socio-economically amidst rapid international collaborations, the fallout of such conflicts impact not just those engaged in the battles, but other countries as well. In fact, every citizen across the world, directly or indirectly, is getting affected. The questions that pass across the mind of an individual now, a common global citizen, are: number one, when will this war end? Do we see a light at the end of the tunnel? Question number two, can peace be ever invoked in West Asia? Will the warring communities ever be able to patch up? Question number three, who will initiate a peace process? Who can at least get the two communities to a talking table? And the last, who will be the mediators for a peace process that will be sustainable and lasting? But as the situation stands now, with vengeance echoing in every mind across Gaza, West Bank, and Jerusalem, an agreement for a peace or even a ceasefire seems to be far from reality. While the conflict has raised concerns among several nations in the West and Middle East, Israel's foreign ministry said 84 nations have issued statements supporting its right to self-defense. Now, countries like US, UK, Australia, France, Norway, and Austria have seen leaders issuing statements condemning the attacks. Meanwhile, on November 2nd, the US House of Representatives passed a Republican plan to provide $14.3 billion in aid to Israel as it continues to fight Hamas. Also, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on October 10th spoke with his Israeli counterpart Netanyahu. He expressed deep condolences and sympathy for those killed and wounded as a result of the terrorist attack. PM Modi conveyed that people of India stand in solidarity with Israel in these difficult times. He also reiterated that India strongly and emphatically condemns terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. Britain's Prime Minister Sunak said the United Kingdom stands with Israel.
We stand with Israel. The United Kingdom stands with Israel against this terrorism today, tomorrow, and always. The people who support Hamas are fully responsible for this appalling attack. They are not militants. They are not freedom fighters. They are terrorists. Their barbaric acts are acts of evil.
Meanwhile, countries like Iran, Lebanon, and Qatar have backed Hamas. The conflict now has reached a new level and spilled over to the neighboring countries. Now, in tandem with the Hamas onslaught, the Lebanon-based Hezbollah also launched rocket attacks on northern Israel ever since the Israel-Hamas conflict began. Besides responding to rocket attacks with tanks and artillery, Israeli jets recently struck Hezbollah terror infrastructure in Lebanon, including weapons, posts, and other facilities used by them. Iran traditionally has been a supporter of Hamas for many years. It's said to be assisting the group, providing financial assistance and military supplies. Qatar, meanwhile, has held Israel responsible for the current escalation. The latest surprise and coordinated attack on Israel by Hamas draws attention back to the old and persistent problem, the Israel-Palestine conflict, something which has plagued the Middle East for decades. The antagonism and enmity have deep and complex roots that predate the formation of the State of Israel in 1948. Going back, Britain took control of this part of Middle East after the Ottoman Empire conceded defeat in World War I. As the Israelis and Palestinians struggled for self-determination and sovereignty over the territory, the international community asked Britain to create a Jewish homeland in Palestine. A large-scale Jewish immigration continued for the next few decades. The UN General Assembly in 1947 passed a resolution 181 dividing the land into two independent states, one Arab, one Jewish, with Jerusalem under international administration. But the plan was never implemented as the Arabs rejected it. In the following year, that is 1948, Israel declared independence, something that was not acceptable to the Palestinians, and thus a war began. Subsequently, Israelis gained control over a large portion of the region except the Gaza Strip and the West Bank, which of course remained out of their bounds. Meanwhile, hundreds and thousands of Palestinians fled or were driven out of their homes from Israel. They still refer to the incident as Nakba, which means catastrophe in Arabic. So whether it is the 1967 Arab-Israeli War or the Yom Kippur War of 1973, the two sides over the years have been involved in several skirmishes, some minor, some of catastrophic proportions, leading to deaths of thousands of people. So where does Hamas come into the picture? Hamas was formed in 1987 at the beginning of the first Palestinian uprising, or Intifada. Palestinian cleric Sheikh Ahmad Yassin formed Hamas as a political arm of the Muslim Brotherhood, a transnational Sunni Islamist organization. Having its strength in Gaza Strip and areas of the West Bank, Hamas called for establishing an Islamic Palestinian state in place of Israel. Hamas, though was designated as a terrorist organization by the United States, it won the legislative election in the Palestinian-controlled territories in 2006. Now coming back to more recent events, Netanyahu's return to power in December 2022 has been marred by allegations that he intended to push through sweeping judicial reforms. Since the start of 2023, protests have been held in Israel against the government's reform plans. Netanyahu's government passed a law in July, the first planned change, a reasonableness bill. The bill removed the power of the country's Supreme Court to act against any government decisions, even if it deemed the step to be extremely unreasonable. Backed by Netanyahu's political rivals, protesters wanted these planned reforms to be scrapped. In a way, the weeks before the recent attack on Israel were marked by a series of internal feuds and protests, with multiple demonstrations being held in many cities of Israel every now and then. A situation which probably was exploited by the militants to launch the siege. Now, just before Hamas struck, Netanyahu and the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman, talked to take forward a historic peace deal between Israel and Saudi Arabia. So is such an agreement dead in the water now? Though Saudi Arabia has not publicly condemned the Hamas attack, it has been vocal in its call for de-escalation, joining the growing chorus of international voices expressing concern at what might come next. The United Arab Emirates, on the other hand, criticized Hamas for the murder of Israeli civilians. But then, was the attack on Israel an attempt to disrupt these peace treaties with the Arab world? The timing of the attack certainly carries wider significance. Now, if the conflict serves to disrupt the dynamic of the peace process, Hamas will see it as a bonus. Even as the war rages, quest for peace continues to play big on the minds of many. After all, West Asia is just not an isolated spot on the globe. A long-haul war has the potential to change the world order in more than many ways. If a resolution for peace, if at all, ever takes effect, it would be the biggest truce deal in the documented history of modern times. Coming up after the break, is artificial intelligence taking over the world? Are we heading to become slaves to a high-tech new technology that is being developed to run our lives? Stay tuned.
India that invents. India that innovates. India that excites. India that invites. Land of possibility. Teeming with opportunities. Watch India Ideas each Thursday, 8 p.m. only on DD India.
In a world that never stops, where information shapes our reality, one app stands out, helps you stay ahead of time. Introducing the DD India app, your gateway to a world of news right at your fingertips. Your most trusted source of news goes global, goes digital. Explore a world of options, top stories, live updates, in-depth analysis, and more. Stay informed wherever you are. Real-time alerts keep you ahead of the curve always. The DD India app, connecting you to the world one story at a time. Download now and explore the world of knowledge, insights, and authentic information.
The alarm bells over artificial intelligence, or AI, have started touching the crescendo. In the last few months, industry captains have published letters and messages warning that AI could lead to human extinction. In fact, it should be considered with the seriousness of a pandemic or a nuclear war. Now, pessimists are predicting an AI doomsday with the world being taken over by robots. But what does such a scenario actually look like? The reality, many say, may not have the effect of a Holocaust or a pandemic, but it certainly has the potential to disintegrate the present social fabric or the structure of the society. So the questions on artificial intelligence that plague the natural human minds are, number one, how will AI change our lives in the coming years? What difference will it make in our daily lives? Question number two, how will it affect our existence, professionally, psychologically, and socially? Question number three, will it take over our existence? Will the role of humans in key areas become redundant? Now, AI is becoming increasingly important in today's world. It has the potential to revolutionize many industries like the healthcare, finance, education, entertainment, and more. The use of AI has already improved efficiency, reduced cost, and increased accuracy in various fields. AI-based applications have supported digitization of services, and the chatbots have redefined the customer services. Now, this demonstrates the potential of AI as it can be used and create completely new experiences. AI can now be used to create special effects, automate tasks, and even generate entire movies. But amidst the positive potentials of AI, there are concerns about how baneful impact of this technology would be. Now, with the alarm bells ringing, leading nations have started to act. US President Joe Biden has issued an executive order to regulate the development of AI. Now, the order mandates AI model developers to notify government of their work and share test results in compliance with the safety norms.
This executive order will use the same authority to make companies prove that their most powerful systems are safe before allowing them to be used. That means companies must tell the government about the large-scale AI systems they're developing and share rigorous independent test results to prove they pose no national security or safety risk to the American people.
Even UK has expressed concerns that humanity could lose control over artificial intelligence in extreme cases. And British Prime Minister Sunak expressed his concerns in as many words.
Get this wrong, and AI could make it easier to build chemical or biological weapons. Terrorist groups could use AI to spread fear and destruction on an even greater scale. Criminals could exploit AI for cyber attacks, disinformation, fraud, or even child sexual abuse. And in the most unlikely but extreme cases, there is even the risk that humanity could lose control of AI completely, through the kind of AI sometimes referred to as superintelligence.
While the UN has announced the setting up of an advisory body to address global AI issues, the European Union now has a regulation that applies to the member nations. Concerned over the AI evolution, even China has enforced a set of law for generative AI. So as we go ahead, what are the challenges posed by AI? First and foremost, jobs. AI-powered automation is a concern, as many fear that it could lead to job losses. Goldman Sachs says AI automation could eliminate 300 million full-time jobs. As AI robots become smarter and more efficient, fewer humans will be needed to perform the same task. In the future, we can expect to see even more jobs to be automated, like truck driving, delivery services, and even medical diagnostics. But there is a double whammy. While jobs may go, industries may need new set of upskilled workforce. While AI is projected to create 97 million new jobs by 2025, experts believe that many workers will lack the skills needed for these technical roles and could be left behind. Bigger concern, will AI be a tool for social surveillance? There is a growing concern over the negative effects of AI on privacy and security. A prime example of this is China, that has used facial recognition technology in offices, schools, and other places as well. Now with AI, surveillance can be mounted on an individual, his activities, relationships, as well as his political views. Now, ex-CEO Elon Musk underscores the need for a third-party referee to monitor what leading AI companies are doing and flag off the concerns, if any.
Time, really, in human history, with something that's going to be far more intelligent than us. So it's not clear to me we can actually control such a thing, but I think we can aspire to guide it in a direction that's beneficial to humanity. But I do think it's one of the existential risks that we face, and it's potentially the most pressing one.
Data privacy continues to be a prime concern as well. Using AI systems, personal data often collected by service providers can be compromised and manipulated. Another big concern, will AI replace human decision-making? There are concerns that AI could be used to replace human decision-making processes, leading to gender and racial discrimination. Social manipulation through AI algorithms. Online media and news have become even murkier in the light of AI-generated images and videos. AI voice changers, as well as deep fakes, infiltrating political and social fears, are serious social threats and also nuisance. Also, the rapid rise of generative AI tools like ChatGPT and Bard are making these concerns more serious. The tech has been used by many to get out of writing assignments. Now this is a serious threat to academic integrity and creativity. Another pertinent question is, what happens to AI infusion in the arms race? The defense application is another key sector that is experimenting with AI. From remotely operated armed drones, which we have seen in the recent conflicts, to operating weapons based on digitally analyzed data, calibrated application is very, very important. Also, with AI technology's involvement in everyday financial trading processes, algorithm-based transactions could be at risk and has the potential to trigger financial crisis. So while the future of AI is both exciting and promising, there are uncertainties and challenges that need to be addressed, else humanity may just be overpowered. That's all in today's edition of Connecting the Dots. A big thanks from all of us in the newsroom for watching DD India. Take care, stay safe.